Joining us in the studio is another presidential hopeful who is a former governor of Edo State and former national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Oshiomhole. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight. Well, let's begin with this very curious question in the minds of many Nigerians who have been following you lately. Not too long ago, you seem to have declared for Senate to represent Edo North. And then here you are, you've declared to be president of Nigeria. Exactly what has changed? Why that move? And secondly, you're known to be a very close ally of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, national leader of your party, who is also an aspirant. How do you feel running against him? What exactly has happened?
I think the first one is straightforward. Thank you for having me. I went home and the core leadership of our party in Edo North, which is where I come from, representing 6 local governments, decided that I should represent them at the level of the Senate, and I did accept. There is nothing contradictory. I mean, in history, there have been people, I don't know how much you've not been involved in politics. I do remember very well one late President Shagari, now of blessed memory. He wanted to be a senator, and at the last minute, the party decided that rather he be senator. Those who wanted to be president were asked to step down for him, and he became the president. All that is history. So there's no contradiction. Now, my decision to contest is I do appreciate that in the Senate you have an important role to play. But obviously, the chief executive of Nigeria directs the affairs of this country. And I think that given my background, I have passed through all the layers. I have worked at the lowest level, the most subordinated position in industry. I have been a victim of economic power. I have also been victim of misuse of political power. I have also fought power and interrogated power. And I became a governor of the state. I tried to demonstrate some of the things I preached when I was in the NLC. I believe in it. If you look at the hospitals I built in Edo, they are not typical government kind of hospital. I wanted the best for our people. I built beautiful schools. I believe that I have something different. So when you ask me, so that is why I want to contest. I think that we can move the country away from where it is now, and move it forward in some specific ways. I am fanatical, for example, about jobs. Because if there were no jobs, I would not be a worker. And if I wasn't a worker, I would be a union leader. And it is my activities as union leader, up to the level of being president of Nigeria Labour Congress, that I invested in my governorship of Edo State, not money. And I thank God that at the end of 8 years, Edo people recognize that somebody came here and he made a difference.
But in spite of that, you had 2 commissioners in your cabinet who actually kicked against your bid for
this is trivializing the issues.
Senate.
This, with due respect to you, this is trivializing the issues. 2 commissioners. Do you know the population of Edo State?
I'm saying at least.
Now, if I sack a commissioner for want of performance, I sack a commissioner for incompetence, or a commissioner for some reasons in this environment is hungry and somebody offer him or her something, and he chooses to make a statement. Do you know how many commissioners I had in the period of 8 years? If views of commissioner matter, then go and take the assemble the commissioners who work with me and ask them to vote. I don't think you want to wait.
So your change of mind has
the other question, which I think
the other question,
about Asiwaju,
exactly.
Yeah, he's a man I respect very much. When he was governor of Lagos State, I was president of the NLC, and I gave him as much trouble as I could. I forced him to pay minimum wage. I engaged him on social issues, and I also admire some of the things he achieved in Lagos, with a small revenue base of about 600 million that time. And by the time he left office, he has raised the revenue base to an enviable level. Today, if any governor is talking about internally generated revenue, you cannot but acknowledge the pioneering effort of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But the good news is that the presidency of Nigeria and my candidature is not against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I am contesting for the presidency of Nigeria. I am not contesting against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So don't put it that way. And when you talk about allied, the contest shouldn't be between opponents or adversaries. We are friends. I respect him, and I'm sure he has some respect for me. I'm talking about alliance. You know, some of those as what you raised from zero to where they are contesting. But I was already a household name before I became president of Nigeria Labour Congress, and before I became governor of Edo State. And then we met on the same party. He formed the APC, ACN, and I was the second governor on the ACN platform. So I respect him, and I'm sure he understands that it is not about him. It's about Nigeria.
Okay. You say it's not a contest, but we do know there's just one ticket. You have also said that you have not returned your senatorial form. Is that a plan B? Is that a fallback plan? How do you have intentions to run for the presidency and then Senate at the same time?
For the two.
But you said, you told us earlier you haven't dropped your form.
Don't make this a big issue. I think what is important for my, in the context of my declaration today is, what will I want to do differently? Now that my people ask me to be president, if you go to those people and ask them, between president and Senate, between the presidency and Senate, which one will you prefer for Oshiomhole? They will tell you they prefer president. There's no question about that. So I don't want us to dwell on that.
So you said this morning when you were declaring that you're contesting to set the country on the path of greatness.
Yes.
Are you saying we are currently on the wrong path? And what does path of greatness mean? Tell us.
Take the word of Obama. Anything can be better. Right? This is a beautiful studio.
Thank you.
Very beautiful. But you'll be first to admit that this studio can be much more beautiful. Anything, even what seems perfect. I said so in my declaration, that when some people buy a car, they will say, this is the latest model. It has all the options. As of that time, that is all the options. 6 months later, that car becomes obsolete in a world that is ever changing. So my party, currently under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, has led Nigeria to this level. And the Constitution knows that no one man can fix a country in the long run. And that is why it allows for periodic election and even impose a time limit for anyone, including angel, to govern Nigeria. And so I am coming in not because Nigeria is completely down. Of course, if I don't think I can add value and move Nigeria to the next level, when I say next level, not in terms of the way we shout the slogan, I am troubled by the growing level of unemployment. I'm even very troubled that institutions that worked before aren't working. And we have to admit, this is not about being partisan. When I was a young worker, right, the Ministry of Labor have statistics on the number of people who are unemployed. And before you sack, and when you sack, you forward the name of those who are dismissed to the Ministry of Labor. So they know the number of people sacked in a month. And if you employ new hands, you also inform the Ministry of Labor. So they know the number of people employed in a month. And therefore, at the end of the year or at the end of the month or quarterly, the government is able to tell you, during the past 3 months, this number of people gained jobs and this number of people lost jobs. And so on average, this is our employment situation. Okay. Those figures, those are little things that matters. Because if you don't know what is going on in the economy, how do you plan? Number two, I believe that, you know, we always celebrate our 200 million population.
Right.
We are not talking about equality. In those days, and that's why I said, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The Ministry of Labor was not about mediating only between striking workers and lockout employers. It also has a role of conducting trade tests for people who are doing, you know, skill and skill.
You talk about, you know, mediating between, industrial actions. Say ASU, for example, you did say in your declaration speech today, you vowed to end incessant ASU strikes. And how exactly do you plan to do that?
I think the first thing is to recognize that. I mean, let's stop the joke. You can't pay a professor 500,000 naira a month when he has been teaching for more than 30 years. If a professor earns 500,000 naira a month, associate professor maybe 350,000. A senior lecturer maybe 200,000.
Yeah, what I want to know is exactly how you're going to change it. I mean, where will you get the money from to, you know,
it's not all about money. It's about spending money wisely. One thing I learned in life, and even as a governor, is that it's not really how much money you have that determines what you do. what you do is a function of your priorities. There is still so much leakages. I mean, we are told we are spending, for example, up to 1-2 trillion naira in subsidy, and there are other leakages that government talks about every time.
Right.
So if we see education as a priority, if we refuse to accept a situation in which universities are not, public government-owned universities are on strike, and only children of the rich are in school, and that we must do something about it, as we are part of Nigerians. What they ask for is feasible, is doable, but something must give.
Like
What's
what?
that?
What exactly?
That will require that we have elaborate conversation. We look at total balance sheet, look at the funds accrued to the country, and reorder our priorities. I do not accept. I mean, I ask you the question. Why will you pay a professor who has been teaching and researching for 35 years?
Let me ask you another question.
That is
Let me
less
ask you
than
a question.
$1,000 a month.
Yes.
And
How much would you pay a
this
professor?
argument, listen, this argument is also valid for every other person that works in the public sector.
So how much
the
do you think a
result is
professor
that,
should earn?
allow me to finish.
Okay.
The result is that anybody who now lives strictly on his wages is financially embarrassed, which leads to other things.
That's
Now,
exactly why I want to
what's your
ask
second
you
question?
a question.
How
that-
much?
Nance, let me ask this. Only yesterday we had Oshiomhole here, the Nance president, who actually questioned the morality of a presidential aspirant taking a whole whopping 100 million naira to purchase a nomination form. And you just talked about the issue of, living within your means. How are you able to afford 100 million naira for nomination form?
You created distortions. No. This discussion is not flowing. She asked a question, you ask another. Which one should I answer?
Answer this.
I think I want to answer the first one.
Go ahead.
How much?
The world of work that I come from, and as a labor leader, employer from the birth of trade unions, the issue of the prerogative of the employer to impose a wage is gone. Appropriate wage must be a function of what is agreeable between the employer and the employee on a negotiating table. I cannot decree that this is what it should be, but I recognize that ASU has a compelling argument for better wages and working environment, but also to have teaching aids in our university. But when the money is provided, they should also have a say. It is through their agitation that TED Fund was set up. It is arguable today how much influence ASU has in the disbursement of funds of TED Fund. It has become one of the most, quote, juicy parastatals of federal government. Now, what is your other question?
The question as to how morally correct is it that any presidential aspirant can
this question you put to the
take
party.
out 100 million naira for nomination form at a time when Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world, and all the other challenges that ASU is facing, the health sector is facing, and every other sector for that matter.
That is why I say you're confusing me a little bit. I'm not as intelligent.
How you
listen.
Yes.
Those who seek political office do so, in my view, not because they have the money. What they owe the country is to convince us or sections of the country about their vision. And those who buy into their vision will provide the support base, the financial support for them to sustain the campaign. When I became the governor of Edo State, I did not have my money to pay, and I defeated those who were billionaires. Right. Because many people, including workers, contributed as low as 10 naira to even banks. Even people working in this day contributed to my campaign because they were witnesses to my struggle as president of the NSC. So any person who wishes to contest to lead Nigeria can't do so on the basis of the size of his pocket. If that be the argument, then only billionaires will contest. But however, the question about 100 million, you should put it to the party leadership, not me.
Okay, talking of that.
Now, but if you're asking me how I hope to pay for it,
right,
it has to be paid for by people who believe in my message, because you see, taking a message is simple. What is not so simple is convincing people
to buy in,
that you have the courage. To buy in, and that you have the courage to actualize those things that you promised. I don't know of any politician who has said he doesn't want a greater Nigeria. I don't know of any politician who has said the level of unemployment is acceptable. I don't know of any politician who dispute the fact that we have just too many people in our midst.
Okay, well, let's quickly ask you this before we let you go, because we lack time now. Have you made peace with the leadership of the APC since you were forced out as chairman of the party?
This is something we should discuss another day. I had no problem with APC leadership. I have challenges with few governors who didn't think that they should subject themselves to the rules of the party. And I insist that if I'm the chairman, I must exercise the power and the authority of the chairman. The chairman of APC is the chief executive officer of APC under the APC constitution. And I'm happy that Kayode left here. I told him to his face in a meeting that I will not subordinate the authority of the National Working Committee, nor the authority of the Office of Chairman to the Governors Forum. This is a matter we can discuss another day. Okay. But don't say the leadership of the party. So have you made there was no, listen, those who found, I have been co-founder of APC. I was a governor. I'm not made by APC. We created APC. I was already doing my my second term, so I'm not APC product. I have never run election on APC platform. And I didn't want to chair a party whose mission is just to serve as an election machinery. I have clear views about what I thought a party should be. And in a meeting I said, anybody can take my job and keep my honor. I will give up my honor to keep the job. So, and you have to be careful how you define leadership. Because part of the problem, when the media parade beneficiaries of a party, those who are elected on the platform of the party can't turn around to subordinate the party as if it is their own briefcase. That is not what it should be. Okay. And my commitment was we must defend the party. I didn't need to stay there forever. I understand APC was not formed for me to become chairman. But this belonged to the past. The good thing is, once I accepted that I was removed, and I said I was not going to question the legality of that removal, and because the party was, the chairmanship was not a do or die for me, I accepted it, and I said I wasn't going to court. But the chairman of another party, who even stayed longer, I led my party to victory at the presidential level. I led my party to victory at the senatorial level. We had more Senate in 2019 than we have in 2015. We had more House of Rep in 2019 than we had in 2015. And unlike 2015, we were able to manage our majority. I will produce a Senate president and a deputy Senate president and principal officers of the House from our party without any record. Whereas in 2015, okay. So we had a mix-up. So if, and in addition, it's a record that under my chairmanship, we supported every senator, from the person who's Senate president today to every senator, 109 of them. The party supported them with 20 million naira each. It has never happened before. Every member of the House of Representatives, the party that I chaired, supported them with at least 10 million naira each. 360 candidates. There are a couple of things. Some state governors, we funded them from the party treasury. It never happened before. So when you say that the leadership, you have to define. Where did the leadership meet?
I was almost tempted to call you comrade governor, but
might be comrade president soon.
Let me ask.
I was once president. I commanded the working forces. The only difference now is to add the armed forces. The armed forces.
Great. We wish you the best in that. But very quickly, the question a lot of Nigerians are asking is who has not declared? It's not a question of who has declared, because it's becoming so crowded. We're losing tabs of the people and the names, but we're trying to keep our people abreast of all of that. Are you worried at these numbers? The question I asked Governor Fayemi as well. Also, I want you to add to that when you're responding. The South has had a taste of presidency. Some Nigerians will say, don't you think you, coming from the South, should sit this one out in the spirit of fairness, equity, and justice?
How does it taste? Because you are from the South, how does the presidency taste?
I've never been a president. I would not know.
So I have never been a president. So when you say the South has tasted it, so I ask you, you are from the South, how does it taste?
So do you want it just for the
I think this for me, to be, with all due respect, you know, when people talk in terms of fairness, the fairness that bothers me is how we can have a country like Nigeria with all our national endowment, and yet this night, some people are going to go and sleep without food, some without roof on their head, and yet there will be empty houses in Abuja. There are empty bungalows in Abuja that are not occupied, even in the midst of people who are homeless. That is what I consider unfair. That the president come from my zone, he come from that zone, he come from that zone. The poverty in Nigeria has complete federal character. There are two classes.
Question that
if we are going to rotate power, the power rotation I would appreciate, that I think is compelling, is allow people like me who have led workers, right? My experience is not from business. It's not from making profit. My experience derived from mobilizing people, fighting for their causes, fighting for justice, fighting for jobs, fighting for fairness, fighting for decent wages. This is my background. And those who have governed are those who have always had those state power. And even those who fought for democracy are the ones who have governed. So if we want to rotate, let it be the turn of the working class.
Well, you should have started a Labour Party, maybe. Well, we'll have to leave it there. Adams Oshiomhole, former governor of Edo State and presidential aspirant on the platform of the APC. Thank you very much for joining us.
Wish you the best.
Thank you, my lovely sisters.